So tonight's call is all about sort of scale weight. Why not to let it be the sole focus? Why not let it sort of affect motivation? And then we'll talk a little bit about cardio and sort of the best and right cardio to sort of do whilst dieting. So just before we run through all of that, I like to touch on like the things that we should sort of have in place by now, coming into weeks like end of week 3 of ELIMIN8. And the main thing you should start to have in place is like understanding your workout routine, like your ideal days and times that you like to train. Is it like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday? Do you have days at the weekend? Does it fit your lifestyle? And it's always good to sort of refer back to that every now and again, especially when you've got things like a bank holiday and just be like, right, this is my ideal week. I usually like to train on a Monday at 5 o'clock. The gym shot's at 4 o'clock today. So can I get in, or am I going to have to shuffle a couple of things around to make it fit this week? So always be aware of that. Once you've sort of got your ideal week, alongside that comes down to your sort of ideal food structure. Are you having breakfast, lunch, dinner? Are you having snacks in there? And the reason that's important as well, especially when we start coming into the latter end of ELIMIN8, it allows you to be like, right, my food's going to probably come down. So do I still have enough calories for a snack in between lunch and dinner? And do I have enough for one after? If not, what amendments do I make? It's easy to, and people will say, well, it's easy to drop the snack between, say, like your lunch and your dinner, but just for the sake of like hitting calories. But if you know you're someone who gets home from work, busy day at work, and the first thing that they want to do is go to the fridge and have like a little snack before dinner, make sure you've got one planned. Even though on paper it makes sense to take it out because your calories are coming down in a couple of weeks, always keep something in that best suits you. Like we've seen a couple of people in the group. Emily's been quite open about it. I know Emily's not on the call tonight because she's in Cyprus, so luckily for her, but she won't mind me saying that, like, she knows she's been snacking. So what we said with Emily is like, make sure you've got that snack for when you know you're hungry and you're bridging that gap. So what makes sense on paper might not make sense in person. So always just think about that. And a lot of this comes down to when you find what works, it is a matter of repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And that sounds pretty boring advice. You didn't come on ELIMIN8 just to get told to do the same thing over and over again. But the idea is we do build ourselves up to a position where it does become easy and you're thinking, well, there must be something more to this. But if it's working, you just repeat it and then you use like ELIMIN8 for more of accountability rather than knowledge, because you should be building the knowledge into that. And then obviously making sure the sort of food structures in place, and then you can start pushing that little bit harder on your sort of target. So a few of you would have received comments today about the next thing to really focus on is like just making sure you're hitting your protein, making sure you're hitting your calories, making sure you're getting your steps and your workouts in. And anyone who's asked for cardio targets or thinks cardio targets will help, obviously has them as well. So we're building into it and we're just reflecting each week and just making sure we've got it. Does anyone have any issues or anything they want to ask about before we get started on like tonight's topics, in terms of like, is everyone okay with their ideal week? Is everyone okay with their meal structure? Is everyone okay with meal prep? Is anyone still struggling with like finding breakfast, lunch, dinners, or is meal prep still taking longer than it should and it's stressing you out? I know a few people are still short on protein, hence the comments in the Facebook group today. Anyone want any direct help with anything? If you speak up, you're getting direct help, so don't be shy.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling with the protein, but I was thinking, shall I just maybe make a protein shake in between to build up the amount of protein?
Yeah, people sort of see protein shakes in a weird way. They're one of the best sources of protein you can get with all the micronutrients in. They've got all what's classed as like essential amino acids. I don't want to, that's probably too far stretch for ELIMIN8 going into the roles of like amino acids, but basically just whey protein has all the sort of nutrients you need. So yeah, if you need to bridge a gap and you've got the calories and you want to have a protein shake, it's a great source of protein. See it as almost like a blended chicken breast. That is what is the same equivalent. with probably better micronutrients, in all fairness. So do you ever have protein shakes, Paul, or have you ever had them before?
What I normally do is I used to make my own shakes, and I used to add a scoop of protein.
Yeah.
But I have the protein powder here, and I was just thinking maybe if I mix it with just some water and have that instead, maybe of one of my meals.
Yeah, just put
my
it in between
breakfast.
or on the side of a meal. If one of your meals you've made, say like a salad, and you haven't got a protein source in it, have a shake on the side of your salad, then you're getting your protein in. But like, if you can, food is still the best sort of like option for food, and then whey protein is a great supplement. See it as a supplement. But I have whey protein powder every day. I put it in my yogurt and in my porridge. So like, I put 20 grams in my oats in the morning, and then 20 grams in my Greek yogurt, just to bump up the protein in their meals. But you can have it as a shake, and don't stress about like having it straight after a workout or anything like that. You can have it any time of day. And if you don't like it with water and you find it too watery, you've got unsweetened almond milk. That's 13 calories per 100 ml. So 26 calories, 200 ml would be enough for a shake. Cool. Right, that should be most of that. So we'll start with a little quiz. Just on some, it's not a fun quiz. It's not a general knowledge quiz, unfortunately. We're not naming who the last 3 prime ministers were, because I wouldn't actually have a clue anyway. So does anyone know how much weight we should be losing per week? This is massive, and I want people to understand that. I think we actually spoke about it last week. But the reason I want to talk about this before we go into scale weight is because a lot of people give up because they're not sure how much, they think they're not losing as much weight as they think they should. So we'll start with that. Does anyone know how much weight you should lose per week?
2 pound.
I'll put it in the chat. What's that, Paula?
2 pound.
Right, not bad. Anyone else? Don't be shy. No. So I'll flip the question, and so Paula, if it's 2 pounds and you've got someone who's 50 kilos and someone who's 100 kilos, should they both be losing 2 pounds a week?
No.
Doesn't make sense, does it? So
yes.
The idea is 2 pounds is a good marker though. So a lot of people think they should be losing 0.5 to 1 kg a week, but it's actually 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. So for example, picking somewhere in the middle of my example there, I should make this easy for myself. We'll test my maths. So if someone is 70 kg, what they should be losing per week is 0.3 to 0.35 to 0.7. So that's where, and remember, there's a lot of things that can impact the scales, which we're going to talk about. And weight doesn't just come down 0.5 on the dot every single week. So you're in that range of like 0.3 to 0.7 if you're at 70 kg. So just chucking some numbers out there, if you're 60 kg, you should be losing 0.3 to 0.6. If you're 80 kg, 0.4 to 0.8, 90 kg, 0.45 to 0.9. So you'll see that kilo a week, that 2 pounds is basically a kilo. Chasing that kilo a week, you're going to end up beating yourself up because it's way above what the average weight you should be beating. And if you're not seeing that come down, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not doing well, or it's not coming down at the rate that I want it to. So I need to go and do something different. And then you go and change what was actually working. So just being aware of that and reminding yourself. And then another good thing to do, especially if you are female, is don't judge it week on week, judge it over time. So for example, like rather than using that example before, rather than chasing 0.5 kg every single week, aim for 2 kilos a month. And then you're like, right, as long as I'm on track, I did have a heavy weekend, it went up, okay, but I'm still on track for the month, which is what you want. You want weight loss over time. And it's the same as when weight loss comes down, and I try not to celebrate it too much. You'll probably notice I don't cheer on when someone's like, oh, I lost 3 kilos this week. It's like, okay, that's good, well done. But if you lose 0 next week, you're going to be upset. And it's like, well, if you lost 3 kilos over 2 weeks, you'd be happy. So don't beat yourself up that you didn't lose anything this week because you lost 3 kilos last week. And especially with females and hormone fluctuation periods, menstrual cycles, menopause, all of that, your hormones fluctuate a hell of a lot more. So you need to be aware of that and make sure you are going and usually in line with what's expected. So just a reminder, that's 0.5 to 1% you should be losing per week. On ELIMIN8, you should probably, if you're hitting everything right, be up towards that 1%. So the higher end of it. But bearing in mind, that's if you've got your protein, you're hitting your steps, you're drinking your water, everything is on track. And obviously the targets are being hit, you will lose that 1%. That's how it's sort of programmed. But if you're not quite there with your food, you're building up towards that 1%, which is where you want to get to. Some will lose more, some will lose less, which is what we're going to come on to now. So just in the chat, name something that might affect the scales from the day before. My scales went up 1.5 kilos this morning from yesterday. So, which is quite a lot for me. There we go. Kaylee's in with salt. So I was 78 kilos yesterday. I was 79.5 this morning. What could have possibly affected that? Alcohol, yeah. Salt. Anything else? Girls, what can affect your weight? Come on.
Periods.
There we go, Abby. Periods. Anything else? Go on, Paulie. You're dying to say one thing. I know you are. What happens if you've had a water retention? You've had a busy day, work. You get home, your partner's stressed you out. You've had a busy. Amira's just
Alcohol.
Amira's alcohol. Amira's just giving evils there. Stress can affect your weight as well. So we'll go, and the biggest thing which no one's actually mentioned is you're not actually in a deficit. So we all track our food, don't we? And obviously the aim is to be in a deficit, but how accurate is that tracking? Is everything, and when I say accurate, I mean like we all use MyFitnessPal, but we've all been guilty of having a little chocolate as we walk past the desk, putting an extra spoonful of peanut butter in our mouth and being like, oh, I didn't put that one into MyFitnessPal, so it doesn't count. Do you know what I mean? We've all had an untracked coffee. We've all done something along them lines. And even like 50 calories, for example, like a little coffee or a little chocolate as you pass the desk, twice a day leads up to like over 700 calories over the week. So if we're aiming for that deficit, 50 calories twice a day, which is easily done, is basically removes your deficit. And it goes for the same, which is £0.5 pound, by the way, of like weight, without going into the scientific details. So you'll see that deficit can be easily removed. You've obviously also got errors in MyFitnessPal. If you think you are tracking and you're tracking 100% and you're hitting targets and your weight's not coming down, have a look at that video that I've put in the group on errors I see in MyFitnessPal, because a lot of the time it will either be like the wrong people put like things in MyFitnessPal and it'll be the wrong macros, or you'll be putting in the wrong portion size by accident, etc., etc. So one's pasta, like people always like try and hit pasta and they don't realize pasta in MyFitnessPal is the cooked weight. So they're like, oh, I can have 100 grams of pasta for 130 calories, when realistically sometimes it's double or treble, because they've put it in as the cooked weight rather than the dry weight. So just errors in MyFitnessPal. Obviously the things that you're putting in your mouth, I always say if it goes in your mouth, it goes into MyFitnessPal, but just making sure obviously that's tracked. And then obviously you're stressed, which I just spoke about. When you're stressed, you hold on to more water weight, which can lead to obviously feeling bloated and resultantly heavier. And this obviously goes the same when you're on your period. The body's stressed and bloated, therefore obviously hold on to water, which is going to make your weight go up. Then you've got like food itself. So a lot of people put in a group about salt and water. So food high in salt holds on to water, therefore obviously in the morning you're probably going to still have that water retention, therefore feeling heavier. And like when you do have food higher in salt, the best thing to do is go out next day. And this is what I say, if you have a bit of a heavier weekend, And even if you track your food, your weight still goes up. Next day, drink lots and lots and lots of water, almost like a litre more than you normally would, because that flushes out the water retention. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but the more you drink, the more your body's going to flush it out. And then obviously you have things like carbs later at night. There's no issue with carbs, and I always feel like I've got to back myself up on this one. But if you have carbs later at night, again, same thing with water retention, you're going to feel a bit heavier. But obviously I actually encourage foods in carbohydrates, because one, it gives you energy. Two, it's where you get your most of your fiber, and once you've got good fiber, your digestion is good, and therefore obviously weight comes down. Another one for me, like I said last night, I ate a little bit later than I usually do, because I was out for dinner a little bit later. So that's another one. The scales themselves, and I don't mean like your scales are broke. It just means like you're weighing yourself at different times of the day. So if you're weighing yourself in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, obviously if you've got food and drink in you before you weigh yourself, you're going to be heavier than if you didn't. You haven't been to the toilet this morning, and obviously, how do you lose number one, number two, Brad Pitt, whatever you want to call it, number two. You're overtraining, you're lifting heavier. So obviously part of ELIMIN8 and the way the workouts are programmed is that you lift heavier each week. You force and progressive overload. And obviously some of you have come from minimal training into a full workout. Some of you have gone from lifting within what's relatively easy to lifting that little bit heavier. So when your muscles repair themselves, they soak up like what's water and glycogen, which is obviously your stored carbohydrate sources, to repair themselves. And they basically act like a sponge. And we all know like a wet sponge and a dry sponge are the same size, but the wet sponge is obviously going to weigh more than the dry sponge. And that's basically for you girls, and obviously the guys that lift and girls that lift, is when you're on your period, think about your body using all its stored water to hold on to repair itself. And like obviously if you're lifting that little bit heavy and you go a little bit heavier on the weights than the week before, you've had a big heavy workout and you think, oh, I'm a little bit sore next day, weight's gone up. That's why we usually see weight go up in weeks 1 and 2 on ELIMIN8. Is your body's just holding on to that water and that glycogen just to allow itself to repair. And I always use a sponge scenario, like wet sponge, dry sponge, same size. One's obviously a hell of a lot heavier. And then probably the most important, coming into weeks 6, 7, and 8, towards the end of ELIMIN8, is your body's changing. So your body's lost all its weight, it's lost its water retention, it's coming down, and it's going through what is called a recomposition. Kaylee, I'm glad you're on the call, because Kaylee sent me a photo today, actually, where she won't mind me saying, actually, Kaylee, I apologise if you do, but we've obviously not. Kaylee done one ELIMIN8 back in the end of last year and done absolutely amazing. Got down into incredible shape, and then she went into one-to-one coaching, and then from there we stayed consistent, but we tried to get back life enjoyment, finding the balance between like dieting, eating out, making sure she's able to, obviously, if she's out and about with the kids and her partner, that she can pick up an ice cream and not feel that she has to track every single food. And we've sort of stayed there or thereabouts, but not been as consistent or as strict as she was on ELIMIN8. And then she sent me a photo today where the weight had gone up. She hadn't took photos in a couple of weeks, and her weight was actually a lot heavier than it was at the end of last ELIMIN8. But she's actually prefers the way she looks now, even though she's heavier and even though she's not been consistent. I agree, she looks great. And that is what's called a recomposition. It's when like your body sort of builds muscle and it drops fat. So once you get to a certain level of like body fat, your body starts sort of like changing a little bit, and your weight might not change as much, but your physical appearance will. So yeah, that's what sort of a recomposition is when like your weight doesn't change too much, but your physical appearance does. And you start seeing that. The way like ELIMIN8 works is weeks 1 and 2, depending on your training experience, you'll get an initial drop of weight. It'll be a big jump if you've already been training, because you're dropping a lot of water, because you're choosing more nutrient dense foods. Weeks 3 and 4, that slowly comes down, but at a slower rate. So you're not losing a kilo a week, 2 kilos a week anymore. It starts slowing down. Week 6, 7, and 8, you start seeing more physical changes over changes on the scale. So they are the main things that you will see with changes on the scales. So when you do see the scales go up, or more importantly, you see them not go down as much as you want, before you freak out and think it's not working or I'm not losing weight at the right rate, have a think, am I losing weight at the rate it should be over the last 2-3 weeks? Have I come down in line with that? And what is the reason it went up? Is there a valid reason that it went up? Did I eat later? Was the food higher in salt, etc., and all the things we just spoke about? Did you have a heavier training session? Are you going through a recomposition? And then once you've looked at that, then be like, right, do I still need to panic, or should I just give it another week? Let's see how it is, and then make a judgment from there. And it tends to always sort itself out, especially on something like ELIMIN8. And then the stress levels come down as well, which also helps the scales come down. So that is the most important thing. So what do we do when the scales are not the truest reflection? Is, like I just said, we continue tracking our food, making sure it's correct, monitor our stress levels, ensure we are recovering well from sessions, so we're not overtraining, we are getting that protein in, our carbohydrates are good, so we are full of energy and repairing well. We take the measurements, which we do, we take the progress photos, and we ask friends and family or me as your coach to see if we can see a difference. Abby, I have seen your question, so I'll cover that now. Found myself quite bunged up on occasion. What would you suggest was to help the gut to have a quick metabolism? I'm not sure these are in direct correlation. And again, obviously I'm not a nutritionist, so I've got to sort of make sure I stay within my scope here, and I'm not a doctor, but a lot of people have been bunged up this week because of hay fever. That might be an option. When you're dieting, your immune system is a little bit weakened because it's not getting all the micronutrients it needs, hence why you're on a diet. So the main things that I would focus on in terms of like gut health, quicker metabolism, and all things like that, focus on your nutrients. That's what's going to help with your gut. If I don't want to start going down the route and all this conversation talking about things like kimchi and sauerkraut and raw eggs and things like that, which are good for gut health. Try and see them as all different. In terms of bunged up, you want to make sure you're getting all your micronutrients from whole nutrient-dense foods, like 80% nutrient-dense foods. In terms of a quicker metabolism, nothing will really speed up your metabolism. In terms of weight coming down and making sure you're in a calorie deficit, it is just that, making sure you're in that calorie deficit and your food choices are 80% nutrient-dense foods. That is what makes weight come down quicker. You can see, like, you can eat calories for you can have 150 calories of pizza or 150 calories of whole nutrient-dense foods. I'm a believer of the whole nutrient-dense food will make your weight come down quicker because your body uses them nutrients. Therefore, the thermogenic effect of food, like your body digesting the food, has a bigger impact on weight coming down. So in terms of gut health, I'll send you something separate on that, but you want to look at like things that are really good, and I'm buzzing off. I don't use it, and I can say this every week. TikTok, type in gut health on TikTok, and it will say 5 best foods for gut health. It's unbelievable. It's actually better than Google, I think. I'm off to Barcelona on Saturday, and I've been using TikTok for 5 things to do in Barcelona. I used it when went to Thailand as well. So use TikTok for things that help with that, in terms of like what you're, and same for anyone who's really low on fiber. The reason I don't want to give generic advice is because I can say go and put in raspberries or go and put wholemeal foods into your diet, but you won't want to you might not like raspberries, or you might not like wholemeal food. So I'd rather you get a generic sort of guidance and then put them foods into your diet that you like. Same with obviously the gut health. Any decent porridge oats. I don't want to get one with loads of sugar. These are, I use either Quaker oats or co-op ones. The co-op's like in a little, not the ready-made ones. I picked the, not the pots. I get the whole oats, if that makes sense. Yeah, the co-op ones it's like £1 for a kilo. Unbelievable. Quaker oats are good rather than the packs. But if you want a quick one and you want some that are easy, then obviously you can get them. I'll quickly touch on cardio. Bear with me, I'm just getting up my notes that I wrote on cardio. So when it comes to cardio, you'll probably see there's a tab on your Eliminate coaching log that says cardio, and it's in calories, right? The reason for this is you burn calories is based on your weight. So the heavier you are, the more calories you burn. So when I set calories as a cardio as a calorie target, is based on the fact that, like, if I set you a 250 calorie cardio target with your weight coming down, we want to keep it at 250. So therefore, if you were doing like a 20-minute incline walk, eventually that become 25 minutes, 30 minutes, so that you're still burning that 250 calories per session, so that you're still getting the same amount of output, even though your weight's coming down. That's what that's there for. But again, that's minuscule. That's more like in a bodybuilding world that you need to worry about that. I would rather set people a time or like a distance. So I'd rather much say like, right, 2 20-minute incline walks or 2 30-minute incline walks, stepper, spin, boxing business, whatever you want to do. So when it comes to cardio and you want to add cardio in, does it help with weight loss? Yes, it does. Like, does anyone know what the difference between steps and cardio is? What classifies as cardio? Quite a vague question, but if anyone knows, just to break up me speaking all the time.
Your heart rate.
Yeah, literally it, Lisa. That's the difference. It's like what classifies as cardio is basically once your heart rate hits above that 120 beats per minute. So we don't really classify like steps as cardio, because even though sometimes when you go for a walk, your heart rate will tick into that 120 beats per minute zone. We keep steps as steps, and then cardio is like an intended cardio session. So you want to make sure your heart rate's elevated, therefore you're burning calories at a quicker rate. So that is why you see like more cardio is burnt. And then has anyone actually tracked one of their workouts, like a home workout or a gym workout, and seen how many calories they burnt? Just give me like a yes or a no in the chat. Yeah, Paula. So you've probably seen, Kaylee, yeah. So you've probably seen when you track a workout, like a weight workout, it burns a lot less calories than a cardio workout. And this is why, like, when people try and lose weight, they go like down the cardio route of like, oh, I want to burn as many calories as I can because that's going to help me lose weight. But the problem that watchers don't pick up is, like, when you do a weight session, your body's repairing itself for a lot longer after after the session. So when you do a cardio session, let's just say use 150, your heart rate goes up to 150 beats per minute, right? So for that elevated period of, say, let's say we're doing half an hour cardio at 150 beats per minute, we're going to burn, say, 500 calories. When you do a workout, like a weight workout, your heart rate's that little bit less, let's call it 100. So you're probably going to burn less calories in that workout compared to a cardio session. But what the watchers don't take into account, for the next 48 hours after your weight session, your body's still repairing itself. So you're burning calories, your heart rate's higher. So you're burning calories at a quicker rate for the next 48 hours. Whereas once you've done your cardio session and your heart rate comes from 150 back down to resting, you stop burning calories. So that's the biggest thing to probably think about when it comes to cardio vs weight workouts. Yes, in a session, like a half an hour session, you'll probably burn more calories doing cardio over weights. But the bigger picture is, over the whole 48 hours in time to recover, you're going to probably burn more doing weight sessions, which brings me on to steps vs cardio vs like HIIT training. So again, using that example, do half an hour of HIIT vs half an hour of low intensity cardio, you're going to burn more calories doing the HIIT. The problem with doing HIIT is you can probably only do it for 20-30 minutes. Like, if you do HIIT as it's meant to be done, high intensity, heart rate at 180, you can only do that 1, 2, 3 times a week, absolute max. Whereas you do like low intensity cardio, like a cycle, a slow run, incline walking, you can do that almost every day. So if we talk about doing HIIT and you do, let's call it, you burn 400 calories doing your HIIT workout, but you can only do that twice a week because it absolutely batters your body. That's 800 calories burnt over the week. Whereas if you were to do incline walking and you could do that 4 times at 250 calories, you've now burnt 1,000 calories over the week. So the big thing when it comes to cardio is to not look at things in isolation, look at the bigger picture and think about recovery and what can you do consistently. And that's why steps are such a good one, because you can do steps every day, all day, every day. Just walk, get your walks in 12, 13, 14, 15,000 steps. It doesn't really get much harder. The only thing that makes hitting 15,000 steps harder is time. Whereas doing like little bits of cardio, again, you could do incline walking pretty much every day and it's not going to affect your body and your recovery, whereas doing HIIT every day would. So just think about recovery and cardio paired up. And then this is when it comes to, and you're probably looking for more of an answer here as to what cardio should you do on a diet. So the leaner you get, the harder it is to recover. So when you're sort of running and you're starting a diet and everyone gets into running, they've got like a little bit of body fat to lose. It's okay. You can sort of run because you've got that stored body fat, which is what your body will be using to recover. The leaner and leaner you get, the more taxing it is. So recovery is a lot harder and things like that. So you want to keep your cardio probably that little bit lower intensity, which might, like I said, which might sound counterintuitive because you're thinking, well, I'll burn more calories doing a boxing class or a spin class or a run compared to like an incline walk. But the idea is that you don't want to crash on a diet. The main thing you don't want to do on a diet is crash. So if you go in, and this is what I say, is using the same numbers as before. If you were going to, how many of you have gone to do like a spin class or a boxing class or a HIIT class and been like, well, do you know what? I need a little bit of a snack to go. Like I need a little bit of energy to go. So say, for example, you go into a class and you're like, right, I need 200 calorie snack just to get me going so I can go to spinning. And you burn your 400 calories in spinning. Whereas if you've done your incline walk, but you didn't need the snack because it's low intensity and you only burnt 250, you're actually 50 calories off, better off doing the incline walking. And then obviously the same with recovery and food. How many times have you gone to a class and be like, oh, I'm starving, or I've done a big session today, I'm going to give myself a bit of a bigger breakfast. So that thing that you're doing to burn more calories is being counteracted by giving yourself more food. So yeah, that's the main thing in and around cardio. So the answer to what you should be doing is none of you need to do it. None of you have a set goal. Will it help? Yes. If you're into running and you enjoy running and it's not taxing your energy, run. Same goes for cycling, spinning, anything higher intensity. You're more than welcome to keep that in, but let me know what your recovery is like in your comments each week and whether we need to cut back on that. In terms of incline walking, if you want to incline walking, stepper, etc., anything like a really slow run or a cycle, just make sure your heart rate sat between that 120 to 130 beats per minute. It will take you 5-10 minutes to get there, so you'll probably start at like a 180, 90, 100 beats per minute. Then by 5-10 minutes, it should go up to about 120 and it should sit between that 120 to 130. And then you can obviously do that for 20, 25, 30 minutes. That will aid fat loss. That will help things quicker. It's what I do when I'm coming towards my holidays, my photo shoots. 6-8 weeks out, I'll start putting in 2 to 3 up to 4 sessions of cardio. I wouldn't do 4 sessions a week, 5-6 weeks out. That's my last 2-3 weeks if the weight's not shifting. But anyone wants to do cardio, 2 or 3 25 to 30 minute sessions, incline walking if you're not doing anything. If you're already doing it and you're already doing your runs, keep that in, but just let me know energy. And that is probably about it in terms of scale, weight, cardio, etc., etc. So again, a lot of information to take on board. The main things to probably take away from today are how much weight you should be losing per week. Someone pipe up. How much weight should we be losing per week? Someone other than Paula, because I told Paula directly. Don't be shy.
Up to 1% of body weight.
Yeah. So 0.5 to 1% of body weight is how much we should be losing per week. So don't stress if it's not coming down at that rate and judge it over time. Be aware of all the things that can affect scale weight. The first thing to check is accuracy. Are you actually in a deficit? You're not sneaking in little things. Your MyFitnessPal portion sizes, food choices are correct. Sometimes dig deep into the food and see if it's like all the macros are correct. Make sure you weigh yourself first thing in the morning after you've been to the toilet, before you eat and drink. When weight doesn't come down at the expected rate, think, is there a reason? What's the reason it didn't come down? And the best thing to do is just be calm, be consistent, track your food, monitor your stress, recovery, etc., and take your photos and your measurements. And then in terms of cardio, don't look at cardio in isolation. Look at it as the bigger picture. What's your recovery like from that session? Are you able to do it? Do you feel good? If you're doing cardio, are you feeling hungry? If you want to implement it, start with lower intensity and then build your intensity up. And especially when you're coming towards the end of a diet, I would start dropping the intensity so that you can actually stick to the food. If you're getting away with it, you should be okay. You should know your body. This was the first time I dieted where I actually kept running in because I felt good and felt my energy levels were okay. So it's subjective to you and your body. But if you want it in, let me know in the comments. If you don't want it in, don't need to do it. Just keep steps up, make sure weight's coming down at the correct rate. And then, like I said, we are 5 weeks away from sort of summer. So that consistency of trying to hit protein, making sure you're good with your steps, and obviously your workouts, and making sure most of your food is whole nutrient dense, is going to see you get better results over the next 5 weeks. So it's getting you're building yourself to a point of where it literally becomes easy. And then rather than questioning that it's easy, question, is it working? If it's working, repeat. And working doesn't just mean scale weight coming down. It means energy levels, etc. So yeah, big one again on the calls. I forget the challenges. I didn't do a challenge last week because I forgot to put it in. So what we'll do, I'll just pull a face. You can all take a screenshot of my face, pull it on Instagram, caption it, and whoever gets the best caption wins. So I'll give you 10 seconds, grab your phone, then I'll pull a face, and then I'll announce next week's challenge. So we'll go 3, 2, 1. Screenshot or take a photo, caption it, and we'll go from there. Next week's challenge, we will go for, we haven't done the dessert yet, have we? So what I'll do is I'll post a challenge in the group, and we've done a fake away. We've just done the screenshot. The next one is a dessert. So we're making a 300 calorie dessert, and I'll put all the rules in the group, and then obviously the terms and conditions for winning the points. So have a wonderful evening, guys, and I will speak to you all next week. I'll let you know about whether we do the call on a Monday or Tuesday because of the bank holiday.
Thanks, Logan.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.